All right, let's break down the 7 principles. Number 1 is leverage. We've talked about leverage. Leverage turns little money into big money. Now, leverage is a great thing when you're young, because you have time to pay off the mortgages, right? Leverage is a good thing when you're young because you're making money on the bank's money. But leverage can be risky. You need to understand how to manage and use leverage, because leverage will create massive amounts of wealth, but you have to be careful. You get over leverage, meaning your mortgage payments are higher than your rents and you have all these cash flow issues, no good. As your leverage declines, what you're going to see is your return on investment declines. Now, that's okay if you're ready to exit the game, meaning, you reach the place that I'm 65 years old, 7 years old, I want to retire. Then that's okay. But if you're younger and you're 30, 35, 40, 45 years old, you want to manage those. You want to keep your ROI high. Number 2 is growth rate. Growth is never a straight line up or down. Economic conditions affect growth. The affordability index, there are a lot of indexes that you can track with respect to what's going to happen with property values and not. To me, the one that I've relied on the most is the affordability index. Because if people can't afford to buy properties, then how many are we going to sell? Not very many, right? Mm-hmm. So the affordability index, here's what kind of manipulates the affordability index. And this is where it's a great way to kind of prognosticate what's going to happen with interest rates. Property values go up, prices go up, you've got payments go up, people reach a limit. The rubber band gets only stretched so far. Real estate sales start to slow, the economy starts to slow. There's only 2 ways they can start to stir the economy. The prices have to come down, or rates have to come down. Does that make sense? Because if rates come down, what does that do to payments? Payments come down, makes it more affordable. See, the government is in a sticky place today. The government has massive amounts of debt. Something like $20 trillion in debt. Can you imagine having just the interest payment on that? The government needs income to come in. Here's the point. The government cannot, and I mean cannot, afford to allow the economy to stall. So what does that mean they have to do with interest rates? Keep them low. Every time the real estate market starts to slow, what are they going to have to do?
Lower the interest.
They're going to have to lower the rates. That's why the rates have been so low for so long. The only way the government can get out of this, they got to start reducing their debt. Do you see any politicians anxious to reduce the $20 trillion debt? No, there's no action on that. Market timing is irrelevant. When we're talking about, and here's what most people are looking, when I say most, 90% of the people, agents, consumers, the only thing they're paying attention is what does the house cost? What does the price of the property cost? It's not the most important number. What's the most important number? Is the cash flow you're going to get. That's the most important number. Are you going to get cash flow? Are you going to make money on that? And when prices start to come down, what do they think? Better not buy now. Wait a second, what are you talking about? Prices are coming down, your cash flow is going up, your ROI is going up, and you don't want to buy? Why do you not want to buy? I don't know. Price is going down, I'm afraid. They don't know how to analyze the return. What we want to do, and this is where, again, each person here is in a different place in their life, in their financial situation. So the answers are not the same for everyone. Someone that's 32 versus 62, different plans. Okay. All right. Number 3, debt management. Personal debts. I have a saying, debt's a 4-letter word. Keep away from debts. we want to start off with leverage, but we want to have a strategy where we have the timing of our debt reduction or principal reduction. Because as the years go by to retire, so you could be making a ton of money through leverage and building a massive net worth and have no cash flow. And we don't want to have that when you're ready to exit the game. So to me, you want to have a strategy where you have some cash flow, and as the years go by, the debt gets less, the cash flow gets higher, and then at some point the debt gets retired. And so how fast should you reduce it just depends on your personal scenario and what you're trying to accomplish. You know, if you want to retire, if you're younger and you want to retire at 45 years old, then pretty fast. But if you don't want to retire and you want to work and you say, hey, you know what, I like my job, I'm making good money, I'm good, I want to work till I'm 65 or 70 years old, then I would use the leverage and help build the wealth because you're going to have the income. So all that's timing is based on your life circumstance. Number 4 is investment income. Live off the investment income, not the principal, so it'll never run out. Investment income must stay ahead of inflation. Banks don't do that, right? Many investments don't do that, but rents do that really well. Inflation, we know 100-year average, 3%. Rents in Southern California typically are running around 4 to 5%. 4 is on the low end, 5 to 6, but I usually use 4 just to be conservative. And we put together a cash flow management plan. We talked about the stability of rents already. And when and how much to increase rents, I believe in just annual leases. 12-month lease every year. The lease expires, then you re-up your lease and you bump the rent. All right, principle number 5, taxation. Real estate has preferred tax status. Now we're talking about they're going to change, they're going to have this tax reform up, so we'll see what happens with the tax reform. What they start off with and what they end with always change, with the negotiations. But real estate has preferred tax benefits in so many ways. The advantages that real estate have, not just with writing off your interest deduction, but writing off your property taxes, but you have the depreciation on the property as well. It's the advantage over other investments is dramatic. Here's the other thing that you can do with real estate. You can exchange properties, so you don't have to deal with any tax or capital gains or anything, and exchange the property. But here's the other, to me, huge benefit you don't hear people talk very much about. Let's say you bought a property for $200,000. Okay, you bought a property for $200,000. I don't know, 15 years goes by, it's worth $600,000. The $200,000 you owe, we'll say $75,000, and it's worth $600,000. So you got $525,000 in equity, right? You refinance it, pull $100,000 out to go make an investment or do something, right? How much tax did you pay on the $100,000? 0. But if you had stock worth $500,000 and you wanted to get $100,000 out, what's going to happen? Capital gains tax, right? Huge difference. You can access massive amounts of money and pay 0 tax. If you manage it properly, if you are strategic about it, you can go your whole life and never pay a nickel of tax on your real estate and on the wealth creation. Yes?
Principal residence exclusion too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you have the on your principal residence, you have a special tax exclusion. But all of this requires planning, and I'm not a CPA. You want to sit down with your CPA to do this analysis. But this creates, you add the tax benefits, it creates such an enormous advantage on your return on investment over investing in other, whether stocks or other investments. We talked about the 1031 exchange and protecting the title of your property, taking in previous property tax, which is another benefit. Okay. All right, number 6 is asset protection. It takes a lifetime to build wealth and one lawsuit to lose it all. Understanding how to protect your wealth, whether that's using trusts, there's different types of trusts, or whether that's using like an LLC, these kinds of things are really important. One of my biggest fears is when my kids were going through high school and driving around. High school kid gets drunk, run somebody over, who do they come after?
Mom and dad.
Yeah, and so that's a real concern, but having a trust attorney, to work with to help protection, or a real estate attorney, insurance and trust is really important. And number 7 is risk management, basically. Understanding and controlling risk is critical to wealth growth and preservation. The risk must be managed according to your financial freedom timeline. So again, this gets back to, when you're looking at investing, in any investment, how many people do you think really understand their stock investments? I mean, the average person, let's say, just to take a round number, they have $100,000 in their 401k. What percentage of that $100,000 do you think they know where it's invested in? Most have no idea. They sign up, and it just goes into stuff, and somebody's managing them. They have no idea. They have just zero idea. From a risk management, how can you manage a risk that you don't understand? The answer is you can't. You want to understand the risk. When you're buying real estate, you can see it. And you want to see it, and you want to check it out, and you want to get inspections. You want to check to make sure the foundation is good, and all that kind of stuff. So the risk management is on two sides. There's the physical risk management of knowing the neighborhood, the community and all that, as well as the financial side of that, not getting over leveraged.